And this was kind of my technical difficulties. Sorry for that. So this was the source material, the rough choreographic material that we worked with to collaborate with the Viennese-based dancer who was trained like in ballet and contemporary dance, sort of dialogue at that time, still with 2 people. Okay. So just some impressions of that performance and where it was shown, and during the Figure Theatre Festival in Vienna. Some other iterations followed, which was a performance lecture at the University in Amsterdam. It's just a picture. And through that process, I kind of tried to touch on themes like different ideas of archives, like what is stored in the body, what histories or what sense of history do we get like through, like let's say perform Japanese dance, or what gets transmissioned through that, and just the intellectual knowledge of it, and then trying to work on these themes in different contexts, like in Vienna and in Indonesia, and try to bridge in different like epistemologies, like sets of knowledge or ways of producing knowledge. And those who are with me, would you like to try out a task, like a movement task? You can do it sitting or standing. But I think it's, I hope, an interesting insight, like how we come to create like a movement material or choreography, like through certain scores or tasks that we work with. I mean, I'm just giving a minute to this. So whatever you like feeling right now, you can sit or stand. Might be nervousness or annoyance or interested or joy. Wherever you feel that. And try to move it to a different body part. Let's say you have like excitement in your belly, and you can try to move that to your knee, for example. Okay, that's just a short insight on how we create material, among others, like a task score for this piece. Maybe a short quote by Walter Benjamin: processes of cultural translation themselves become the actual engines of everyday culture practice. This also has been like quite accompanying me throughout this research. So crucial to develop this work for me was like to be in context and to be out of context, embody the experience of hegemonial structures due to experiencing working in an ethnographic museum, like a collection that came together through the heyday of like European expansion, colonialism, different ideas of archiving, embodied archives, material archives. Challenges for myself, like in this process, are a respectful handling of the material. And I even know I'm moving like back and forth, like different worlds, like to, this is quite complex, like not to culture appropriate, like to move beyond conditioned forms, because as a dancer, if you're trained like in one form, it's quite a task to get out of it. And documenting the process, like I think documenting the creative process or artistic process when you're kind of in the studio and movement just arises is not an easy task. This is some of my literature, and thank you for your interest. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bianca. Right now we are at level 55. We will be opening the floor for Q&A session for our three presenters. Anyone would like to ask questions to our presenters? Our participants online, you are also invited to ask any questions if you have any for our presenters. Okay, so maybe I can ask a few questions that I have while listening to the presentation. Maybe I would like to ask Dr. Fajra first, right? So based on your presentation, it seems that your artwork is very much focused on the practice of self-reflection, right? So maybe you can share a little bit on how do you balance between self-reflection and also the inspiration that pop up spontaneously in creating your artwork.
Okay, I want to show my research, the process of creative form, identity visual. The artist identity visual is very important. This is I will show you artwork. This is this is my object and this is video mapping exhibition and pasca sarjana Institut Jakarta. This is my master of lecture. So this is a process of identification for me, for the artist. Magnifier visual, like elbow for me is very important. Thank you.
We have one question from a participant. I just want to question
Michael. I think his numbers is very interesting because it takes quite time, the 3 years of working with the community. What did you find? What do you find the audience or the participants in the community has transformed to what? Enjoy or what? Just can you give us about it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, the audiences in 2019, I guess, there was a core group of local people who were very engaged, who were involved in the workshops and sort of participated in some of the same with the kids and families, but a lot of people also are not interested in art. So I think, they have their own survival in the community, and even different people in the community have different ideas about what the issues are. So it was interesting also to take the work out onto the street. I think that's a really good strategy, because then you meet a whole lot of people that would not necessarily come to the performance. I mean, this was just before COVID, so when COVID happened, everything changed. There was a lot of kind of emergency conditions in the community, and all of the artists and organisers also impacted. So it's been a really long time to come back. Although, we've kept the relationships going, and it's been really nice to see how their own initiatives like Community Lab was something that the community leaders, especially Namon, Welploinam, Tari Palm, and also Penang, they started, and there's a lot of other advocates in the community now. So it's certainly, despite COVID, I think it was something that Buffalo Field also helped to kind of get some mobilisation going, and it was people commented how it kind of awakened something in the way they felt that they could express the issues that they were experiencing. So yeah, so it's going to be really great coming back to it, although it's a very kind of different situation. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much for the answer. But okay, maybe we can go for our very last questions. Okay, so this is directed to maybe Dr. Michael and Ms. Bianca, who share a little bit about this. When you have this project, what does it mean to the local people, and what are the acceptance towards this new idea? And the second follow-up question would be, how do you position yourself, whether as an insider or an outsider, towards the development of this idea?
Well, that's a really, really good question. Yeah, the insider-outsider thing, firstly, I think is really interesting because, I'm definitely an outsider, right? But I'm also an insider in some ways. Like, communities are really multi-layered, and, like the community leaders, certainly the core three, like family to me now in a way. But it's also that my invitation into it was through Ploy from Open Space, who's also my partner. So it's all very kind of, personal, those kind of connections. And she's got a really long relationship with the community leaders. So, but I think it's really, and I've written about this, I think it's really important to always remember that you are an outsider and not to kind of make assumptions, and be careful and clear about the situation that you're talking in. It's not going to be, I won't be having the same conversation with the community leaders around, dinner as I might in, say, a community workshop, right? And I remind students about this all the time as well, because often, because things are very informal or become, you get drawn in and you get excited about working in this context. And it's often, students often make the mistake of being too casual, or saying things that might be inappropriate, or that they're making assumptions about what the people in the community might be thinking. So it's kind of important. But at the same time, you are an insider. I mean, part of there's a thing around design justice that is about how you are also working in this kind of area. You are taking a position. You are kind of, there is an element of solidarity. That's why you're there. So yeah, so you do take that on. So that's where things become a bit more complicated. I forgot what the first question was. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Like, what is the acceptance of the local people towards this idea?
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it's really varied. Because, like I said, some people don't care about it because they've got more important things to do. Survive in a place that has a lot of issues and is being impacted by outsiders. So there's, it's a long process of developing trust, and just kind of accepting that people will have different responses, and just always experimenting with different strategies. I think the multi-format thing, and just long relationship building thing, and just accepting that there's no consensus as well. So, and the community is over a long period of time is constantly changing and shifting with the impact of gentrification and things like that. So you kind of just, it's not stable, it's kind of an evolving thing. So yeah, you're just trying to respond with people who want to respond to you. Yeah, something like that. What to say?
Thank you very much, Dr. Michael, for sharing with us.
Okay.
How would you want to add on to that?
Specifically on the reception of the audience, or another? That it's quite an interesting one, because like part of this research is also a lot of like historical research, like how did a certain gaze, I'd call it, or research or scholars call it, like colonial gaze, like in Europe, like how did that come into place? That took quite, like, it goes from like world expositions taking place in Europe, forming like through modernity, appropriation of modern Western dances, of Asian art forms. So that's quite a complex topic itself. And I think the interesting part is that like some of like that gaze is still existent, and like an aspect of the work was to break with that gaze. And I didn't do any like audience research and ask, so did I manage to do that or not? But at least I wanted to raise some awareness for the complexities that lies in visual reception of like performance, dance, and context specifically. And I've become quite aware of like how, or that translation that needs to be done is depending on the place where I show the work. It's maybe not a necessity that you have to do. You can just show your work and that's it. But I think that my questions that I have, like for me, it became a nice necessity. Yeah. But I haven't done any audience research. Like I haven't, asked the audience. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Bianca. So I think we are at the end of our morning slot session. I would like to invite everyone for a short photo session. Okay.
Thank you.
Online to turn on the camera as well so that we can capture you. Thank you very much for the session. So we'll be proceeding to our lunch and our 1 hour break. Everyone is invited for lunch in our lounge.
Yes.
Hi, before we begin, can I check and see whether Pumiat Tue is already here online? Yes. Pumiat Tue. Hi, is that you? Yeah. I think we are still preparing for the census for
Oh, I'm still,
Are you here?
sorry, let me just.
starting at the 2 o'clock.
You there?
Is that 1 o'clock?
Later you go there.
Oh, so we're 15 minutes late, is that what you're saying? Oh, I thought it was 2 o'clock. Okay. Okay, so you want me to go there, and so my presentation is where?
You put
If it's, no, I'm putting it on my Google Drive, which anybody can access that.
okay. Then you send to me.
Well, you need to tell me your email address? Okay, I go next door.
Yeah.
What?
Would there be a moment to share screen and check if it's working? While people arrive, would there be a moment to just check if my share screen is working?
Are you sharing the screen now?
If that's all right and if that's possible, just for a moment to check if the audio and the video works.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you. I wonder if that video works, and I'll switch on the audio now.
I see the video.
35-year-old pregnant Bahujan woman Rani Gupta found dead under suspicious circumstances in
audio,
Bhatpara,
please.
Bengal.
Yes, I can hear you.
Family alleges blackmail, kidnapping, extortion and
Loud and clear.
Vandana Bhosle, who wrote offensive posts against Baba Saheb Ambedkar, and the constitution has been denied bail. We consider this as a victory of the constitution and the people, say Dalit Bahujan activists.
Okay, are we ready to start?
Kabir Kala Manch members Jyoti, Sagar and Ramesh complete 1 year in prison after being arrested in connection with the Bhima Koregaon case.
Is the audio clear now?
Yes, it's clear. It's clear.
Oh, okay.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you ready? So you will be the first presenter in this session. Are you ready to start? Hello, can you hear me?
But yes, I think I can hear you now, Phoebe.
Okay, welcome everyone to the session today. So we'll start our presentation with the President, Mr. Baru. So please say so. You have 15 minutes to present, so I will remind you when the time is up. So please, stage is yours. Okay.
Thank you very much. And I hope you're able to see me. I'm not able to see myself.
I can see you. Really.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of you, and I'm very thankful to the APARN team for accepting this possibility of this proposition and this presentation. My name is Varun, Dean of Performance, Theatre Design and Music, and I'm often working in response to whether I'm performing or making a piece or teaching. I'm working in response to the the intersection of social politics, of caste, gender, and educational hierarchies in Indian society. And caste, particularly, I mentioned with respect to what I'm sharing here today, because India has a distinct quality of this religious social structure that is ratified and affiliated with the religion called caste. And like art always tries, I attempt and build a relationship between an artistic piece that is speaking to this situation in India, but in relationship with some of the things that are happening in the world. So my sharing today is a paper in progress that posits a politics of reflexivity, in which writing for performance, writing for the theatre, also for film, for television, for visual art, sculpture, installation, new media work, where the core is the personal pronoun, so to speak, the I. Yeah, and so what I am doing is I will share a selection of clips, primarily audio, from a performance that is titled Missing. I first performed this piece, Missing, in 2021 at a festival of storytelling on the occasion of the International Day of World Peace. And the selection of audio clips is from that first version of the performance. What you will see is at the beginning, right at the outset, there's an initial precursor of visual, which was used as advertisement and circulated social media material for the performance. The idea was to give the impression to the audience that the performance piece is a response to this spate of sexual harassment and rape atrocities that were reported very frequently in Indian media. Throughout all media agencies. And I stress on the word that were reported more frequently during that time. So 2022, 2022, 23, almost there's a flurry of these reports. And once the piece, it begins to talk about my positionality as a performer of the piece, my processes of thought while making the performance, and the reasons why the story is not anymore the story of the atrocities on the Dalit, Bahujan, or untouchable or historically marginalized communities of India. It is, and the piece goes on to sort of play with the idea that it's in fact the story of my positionality as the performer, as the performing body, as the speaking body, and the stories of the audience's positionalities in introspective conversation with the news of rape survivors that we consume. The art we make treating survivors of harassment and rape as subjects, and the gaze with which as audiences, we, and as makers, we consume such art. So I'll share first clip and then go on to share a few words from my writing, from my paper.
"35-year-old pregnant Bahujan woman Rani Gupta found dead under suspicious circumstances in Bhatpara, Bengal. Family alleges blackmail, kidnapping, extortion and murder by her husband. 10th June. Protest by fraternity movement against the killing of Bengali Muslims in Assam. Vandana Bhosle, who wrote offensive posts against Baba Saheb Ambedkar and the Constitution, has been denied bail. We consider this as a victory of the Constitution and the people. say Dalit Bahujan activists. Kabir Kalam Manch members Jyoti, Sagar and Ramesh complete 1 year in prison after being arrested in connection with the Bhima Koregaon case. We dedicate the 2018 Dalit History Month to Rajni Tilak's towering and inspiring legacy. Rajni Tilak passed away. Women find it harder to report rape under the Samajwadi Party government. Some statistics from the National Crime Records Bureau. In 2003, the number of Bahujan women raped was as...
Thank you. We'll come back to that. I have been able to presently title this as Towards a Poetics of Reflexivity, speaking to privilege through autopoiesis. So autopoiesis as a concept it comes from the natural sciences of chemistry. Umberto Maturana and Francesco Varela, the Chilean biologists, in their 1972 book Autopoiesis and Cognition, The Realization of the Living, they speak to the concept of self-maintenance in living beings. This idea, which was later extended from the natural sciences to the social sciences, into social systems theory and sociology, taking the concept of self-maintaining chemistry of living beings that inhabit the world around us, also as applicable to the social structures and institutions that underlie the fabric of our living. In fact, Maturana and Varela speak in the book of having coined the term after encountering the dilemma of Cervantes' Don Quixote, in which the character of Don Quixote enters a deep introspective self-referential exercise. He asks himself whether he must go to war or if he must resort to conflict mediation through words, through letters, through the intellect. This inspiration for Maturana and Varela, if we keep this apart even, they describe the property of autopoiesis as a machine organized as a network, I quote, a machine organized as a network of processes of production, transformation, and destruction, that through their interactions and transformations continuously regenerate and realize the network of processes, their relations that produce them, unquote. So the concept has undergone a fair deal of work and criticism, particularly for the notion of self-maintenance. How can a chemical system maintain itself without any external force, any external influence? But when considered in the context of social structures, particularly self-aggrandizing systems that facilitate and maintain power, autopoiesis seems to encounter a snag, so to speak. The self-maintenance of power becomes a social problem for society, leading to further marginalization of the historically disenfranchised and historically marginalized. This is especially true of our taking scenarios in relationship with caste hierarchies in India. For those of us who may be, I'm sure all of us have heard of it, but who may be slightly unfamiliar, caste is a system, social structure that is embedded within the scriptural, doctrinal tenets of the Hindu religion. That is in practice even today to a very, very large and deep extent. It suggests two primary things. One, that there is a hierarchy in society that is divided into primarily, broadly, 4 castes, and there is a large section based on profession, castes based on profession, based on work, based on categories that depend on the quality of the mind. So the intellect, those who are engaged with the intellect are of one caste, those who are engaged with war and protection are of the other caste, those who are engaged with trade are of another caste, and those who are engaged with labor, manual skilled labor, are of another caste. And it speaks of a fifth section of society who do not belong to this hierarchy, to this broad hierarchy, who were untouchable. And I place that in quotes, untouchable by those of the people who belonged to the first four broad categories. This is because the labor that the untouchable category was associated with was with manual scavenging, primarily of human excreta from the social public spaces and the private spaces of people in society. And I must add here that this section of untouchables, who were later by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also referred to as Dalits, the broken, the marginalized, the disenfranchised, they still continue in many parts of India. They're employed in manual, non-machine supported manual scavenging tasks today. So I'd like to suggest in this, what I'm positing here is a movement from the art-making processes which have what I call politics of depiction.
Mr. Varun? Sorry, I have to wrap up in 2 minutes, maybe. So you're sorry for that.
How long do I have?
2 more minutes.
Okay, so I'm suggesting here a movement from a politics of depiction, which a lot of art making in Indian film, Indian television, Indian theatre has had until even now, until to the present day, to a politics of reflexivity that makes public the dilemma of the personal pronoun. So what I will share here now is another clip from a later part of the same story script that enters the dramaturgy, the script enters the story of myself and how the design of the performance is a reflection on my position and my relationship with the initial idea of atrocities and showcase making a subject out of survivorship. To atrocity, survivorship of atrocity. So I'll play that clip now.
In black on my saffron painted bald head. A saffron that is reminiscent of the cultural, current political dispensation, and a black that speaks to its ugliness. I shall then take names, dole out names of the dead, deceased, the criminally, and names. To the sound of these names, I shall dance a grand dance, a choreographed piece. This artistic aesthetic juxtaposition will be a superb depiction of the caste atrocities around us, isn't it? It will be a great performance, a lovely metaphorization, a lyrical representation, a poetically absurdist leap in performative theory and performative studies. Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? You would have all loved it. You would have all said, especially relevant and important considering our present times, this piece. What a lovely performance. I would have felt nice, but humble. You see, for as artists, we must humble, we must restrain our ego, our pride. It's also a serious political subject. So, in a restrained, consenting, and yet humble, deeply thoughtful, and yet benevolently generous manner, I would. Oh, so sad.
Forward this for the last request for this 30 to 40
Okay,
seconds.
we have to stop right now. Stop right now. Maybe something for that. We have to move on to the next presenter. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to share this news. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to the next presenter. Is APARN, are you saying?
Yes. Sorry, probably the presentation a little bit. Okay, good afternoon and selamat siang. My name is Simon Faisal. I am a student PhD of Indra Vikas, Faculty of Arts, University of Thailand. Today